Before we gather them, I want you to realise that this is exactly the process you utilise. Meaning, a kid says something that you find quite challenging and somewhat hard to deal with. You say, okay, look, let me think about that for a bit. Okay, I need to sort of take that in. So I'm just going to suggest we quit here, and I'll catch up with you maybe tomorrow after I've had a chance to think. At that point, so you bail out basically, and that was one of the things I noticed that we discussed. At any stage you want, you can bail out and say, look, that's really interesting. That's the best way to do it. That's a very interesting point you're making, and I need to think about it. That's very respectful. And then you just say, look, I need to think about it, and I'll catch up with you once I've had a chance to think it through. Then you'll come back like we just did to a bunch of teachers and say, what do I do? Now, some teachers will say, he's right. Kid's right. Give ground. And you might think about that as a possibility. Now, normally we don't with C's, even though in the true conversation you do. In a true humanistic problem-solving situation, you should be prepared on occasions to give ground, if you think it's warranted. The trouble is, it's hard then to deal with the others because people will take advantage of this and you're in a very difficult position. So if there's any way you can get them to see that you have a problem with this, do it. So now you've had a chance to just have a quick think. What have you got to offer?
Well, you'd probably say, Fernando, the trouble with that is that if I allowed, and I'm sure there's other children in the class that might have a need to have their phone on as well, and they can justify that. So if I let Samantha have hers on and Ben have his on, that's going to create quite a problem in our class, and we've all agreed to that. That's why we've made that general statement, no phones during class time. But I can understand that you've got a specific need with your concern about your mum's health. So maybe in future, and I'll let this go this time, but in future, if that's the case, then approach me before class, make it very clear to me of the situation, and yes, I will allow you to take that forward. But only on, matters that we have agreed on, and that and that you can justify that need to have that phone.
Yeah, well, you've done both things that we said, haven't you? You've given a bit of ground. So you could say, look, I won't let you leave your phone on, but what I will do is I'll let you check with the office, for example. But you don't even suggest that. You say to him, okay, look, if you need to know your mother's well-being, and you can't have your phone on, what else could we do? Because the idea here is that he should solve this problem, not you. You want a commitment from him to solve this problem. Now, it may disrupt his lessons for the next few lessons. So have to sit him near the door so he can get out and in, very minimum disruption. He may choose when to go. You may discuss how often he can go. It's up to him. But if he's not genuine, he's not going to do it. So you've got nothing to worry about there. And if he's genuine, he will do it. And if he does it and nothing's happening, he'll probably give it up after a while anyhow and stay in the class. You probably can't lose. But what we're doing here is we're doing what is part of this straight arrangement that's written about. You will give ground when you think it's appropriate, or you will confront. And the confrontation here is exactly the same one as before. Notice, it seems okay for you, but once I allow you to do that, others will want to do it as well. It's going to be impossible because if I let everybody do it because they think they have a need or we think they have a need, then it's going to disrupt learning in the class, which is really unfair to the others who don't have these problems. So you did both. Very clever. Yeah.
Particularly with this issue, because quite often it's not at the class level. It's decided that the phones can come because that is a whole school.
I think we need this a minute. Can't hurt because go.
Normally it's at a whole school level, not we have agreed, because quite often the students won't have agreed with it. They just have to abide by it. So does that give you, should that be put into the conversation? We agreed we won't use the phones, because as a student I would say, well, I don't agree with that. I just have to abide by it.
And I will relate that conversation I had up at the back about kids leaving camp. You do not refer them to our agreements. You do not refer them to our rules. You refer them to the problem. So even if you did have them agreeing. The problem isn't that now they've got to follow the rules or live up to their expectations. The problem is what they're doing is interfering with learning or interfering with safety. So you go straight to the problem. Yeah. So you don't make reference to those secondary things which have been generated in order to save the people from this problem. You go straight to that problem and let them see their behaviour has this impact, this behaviour, this impact is a problem. Now, I just got asked a good one I can't answer, and that is, well, what do you do about wearing hats or not wearing hats and chewing gum? And I will throw that back at you. What do you do in this system if you're trying to implement this kind of system which theoretically is based on learning and safety? Is there any way you can bring in conventions under those banners? Has anyone got any smart ideas here? Because we need help. I can't see. Initially, I mean, chewing gum maybe because it might damage equipment, people might step in it might damage their clothes, it's uncomfortable, maybe. I'm not sure.
We've been discussing, not this specifically, well, maybe chewing gum, but we've been discussing at school about getting the teenagers, which is secondary, to take pride in the school, because they seem not to have pride in the school. And so how do you get them to take communal responsibility for their learning environment? In terms of the environment, in terms of look at the yard, the litter, chewing on the ground, the mud on the carpet, that sort of thing. So I'm just saying we've been struggling with this.
Yeah.
How to get them to take pride in their school.
See, if you had research, for example, which showed you that having an untidy or unclean environment influenced learning or comfort, you could use it. You could actually bring that forward as part of your consultancy, if you like, and say, look, you probably don't know this, but there's evidence that suggests. Maybe you make some up, but that's a bit unfair. So you've got to somehow think of a way to deal with this.
We're trying to connect it to their work, you know, that the pride of the work that they're doing is part of their general pride in what they're doing for 6 hours a day, which is being a student in a particular place.
Yeah, I know. It's another reference point, and I'm not. Yeah. One minute.
We talk about rules and responsibilities as an approach, but at the same time,
It's hardly working. You have to hold it quite close.
but at the same time, there's rules in schools, and sometimes those rules, students don't. You have general agreements amongst the staff, the student body, and the parents through the school council. Now, those rules have to be implemented. So there's a big move for consistency everywhere. So the hat is a school rule that's been decided by the school council, it's been decided by the school community, it's been decided by the staff. Okay? Now, you can't then have people saying, hang on, no, I'm not going to enforce that because I'm philosophically opposed to hats or it's not part of learning. That may be the case. But there's also a greater responsibility, surely, to the
community.
Yeah.
Okay,
and,
you're right.
Perception of the in the community.
This is a general problem I've had in every time I've been doing this work, and I don't know the answers. That there are things which are sort of conventions, and they're conventions in an environment, in a particular. So in some environment there will be hat issues. Either you put them on or you take them off. It doesn't matter really. It's just a convention.